Welcome back, my loves. This is a very special little transmission or podcast episode. We're going to be talking about the open throat in human design. And this is because I've had such a journey with this open throat energy and didn't know about human design until I was like 22, 23, and I always thought I had something like seriously wrong with me with this open throat. So I'm here to talk about the challenges, talk about the blessings, talk about the energies of a completely open throat, and how to live life in society with an open throat, how to develop your throat, and how to not be conditioned by people around you, thinking that you should be something other than you are. So welcome. If you don't know what human design is, then I invite you to go to DeLuna's podcast, which is really where I got into human design. They are so amazing at articulating all about human design, all of the energies, all of the gates and channels, and just all things human design. They are amazing. So go over and check out their podcast on Spotify. If you want to check out your chart and see if that you have an open throat, go to myhumandesign.com, which is Jenna Zoe's website. And I love using her chart because she also shows you your environment in human design and your strongest sense and all of that. So go to her website and then just click on Get Your Chart. And then when you're looking at your chart and your throat chakra is the square, and you'll see it, it's like there's the crown, there's then the anja, the two triangles, and then underneath is a square, and that is your throat chakra. And if it is colored in, that means you have a defined throat. If it's white, that means you have an open throat. So we're talking about open throat energy today. So my throat is not only open, it is completely open, which means I have absolutely zero gates or channels or anything going on within my throat. So I really activate people's throats around me. And it's funny, I'll share some stories of like what it's like being an open throat and having defined throats come up and just basically monologue or share their life story, because open throats just have that energy of like deep listening and activating people's throats. So yeah, my throat is completely open. So we'll start off talking a little bit about the energy of an open throat and what it means to be an open throat. So essentially, having an open throat means that you are more so here to, you're here to share for sure. Like you're here to use your voice and find your own voice, but you're really here to also hold space for people and listen. And a lot of times you'll hear people telling you like you're a really great listener, you're really good at holding space. That's because you have the energy for it and you have the space for it. Open throats have less activity in their throat chakra, so you're going to talk less and you're going to be in more silence within your life and feel very inconsistent in talking and socializing. So the inconsistency will be like when you're around certain people, you'll feel that energy of like, yes, I want to talk. Yes, I want to share my stories. Yes, I want to talk about whatever it is I want to talk about. And then there's going to be other times where you feel a restriction in your throat, or you just don't feel any. For me, it feels like you don't feel any activity, and it feels like your throat just wants to like listen and take it in. And to other people, that can seem like you're really shy or you're really awkward or you don't have a lot to say. But really, it's just you holding space for people or taking in information in your own way. And you're really meant to not succumb to any pressure within the throat. So if you ever feel pressure to explain yourself or talk about yourself or just talk in general, just really remind people that like, hey, I'm just listening right now, or I'm just taking it in, or I need a moment to integrate. Never pressure yourself to talk, especially in a word-based world. I feel like this world is so made up of like words and conversation, and that is like the kingpin of the world is like is like words and being articulate and socializing and podcasting and all of these things. But in a very defined throat world, the open throats just need to be able to say, yo, I don't want to talk right now, or I'm just taking it in, or I feel this knowing inside of me that doesn't need to be explained through words. So, also, as an open throat, you're really here to speak on behalf of things, people, or places that do not have a voice. So, defined throats are more so here to share their own stories. They're going to have a more consistent activity in their throat. They're going to be able to talk about themselves, their experiences, life. They're going to be more articulate. Open throats can also be articulate, but it's just more so they're more consistent with it. Whereas open throats, we're really here to, again, hold space, but also speak on behalf of things that can speak for themselves. So for me, that has been such a learning lesson. I am not the best at speaking at my own experiences or my own stories or even just my personality. I am really good at talking about cacao or mushrooms or energies or even the open throat right now. I'm not talking about something that has a voice. Like a completely open throat is an energy that doesn't have a voice, so I'm really good at talking about it. So that's one of the gifts of having an open throat, is you can talk on behalf of things that do not have a voice, and you're really going to be able to share wisdom in a way that is completely unique. And the other energy of an open throat is you're going to be able to reflect back to people their emotions, their energy, what you're feeling and their aura. And they're really going to take that in and say, wow, like, thank you for reflecting that to me, or thank you for sharing that in a way that's going to be nourishing to them, or it's really going to open a new way of seeing their energy. So seeing that as a really, really big gift. Now I'm wanting to talk about some of the challenges that can happen with an open throat, especially growing up and not knowing that you have an open throat. So if you have an open throat in human design, you're probably going to grow up feeling like you aren't outgoing enough, or maybe you feel like you aren't as smart as other people, or you don't talk enough, or you're shy, or you immediately label yourself as like an introvert or somebody who's not as outgoing as other people with defined throats. And I feel like you might also get conditioned by people around you telling you that you are shy, you're awkward, you don't talk enough, or you don't have a lot to say, or whatever it is. Those are all projections, and those projections may come from yourself. Just know that as an open throat, like I said in the beginning, you're going to have times where you feel really lit up, where you feel like you can really talk about things, where you can really express yourself. And you're going to have times where you just want to listen and hold space for people. So just squashing all of that conditioning of thinking that you need to be something else or somebody else, and just really allowing yourself to be in silence. Like, me and my partner are both open throats, and we've really noticed it going back to work and working like 9 to 5 jobs. And being around a lot of defined throats and really realizing that people will think of you as more shy or awkward or whatever. And just really accepting and owning that you don't have to frickin' chat all day long, or you don't have to frickin', do small talk if you don't want to do small talk, or you don't have to do any of the things that you don't want to do. And I've noticed for myself that I spend most of the day in silence, and that's really comfortable for me. If people talk to me, yes, I feel super comfortable talking back and opening up, and I definitely start conversation when I feel called to. But I think for defined throats, it's so common to just want to talk all the time, fill the spaces of silence with conversation. And I think the gift of an open throat is to really remind people that, hey, you can take time to be in stillness, to be in silence. Not every moment of the day has to be filled with some sort of articulation or some sort of conversation, or I call it like a word-based life. I feel a lot, and I feel like a lot of my energy is within my body, and as an generator, it's also such a body-based experience. So just knowing you can take space, you can be quiet, and really accepting that about yourself and accepting that as a gift, and embodying that for others, to know that they're safe to take space to be in silence, to be quiet, to be introspective, or to just be in stillness. Because there's sometimes, as a completely open throat, where there is absolutely nothing going on in my throat chakra, and I am just like in silence and totally okay with it. So also some things that might happen as an open throat and a very good space holder is a lot of people will, like I said in the beginning, we also amplify other people's throats. So people who have defined throats, or even people with open throats and gates and channels that are connected to their throat, those are going to get amplified by open throats. So as an open throat, if you're around a bunch of defined throats, you're going to amplify people's voices, or you're going to amplify the need to speak, or you're going to just amplify people's throats because you're a space holder. So a lot of my life has been learning how to speak up in conversation, learning how to talk when I really feel called to speak in big groups, or in meetings, or in spaces where there's going to be a lot of defined throats and a lot of activity within those throats, and really learning the lesson of butting in when you need to butt in, and when you have something to say. I think that's a big lesson for open throats, is you don't have to hold space all the time. If you feel like you have something to say and it feels really aligned, butt in and get in there. I'm really still learning this lesson. I feel like my partner has really mastered this one, of spending a lot of our lives in silence, or just listening or holding space for people, and then really finding our voice and what we want to say, and butting in, because people with defined throats will monologue. So that's the other experience that I was going to share, is people will come up out of nowhere and probably share their life story with you, or go off on some event that has just happened, or monologue. I have had times where people will come up to me and I will say absolutely nothing for about 30 minutes to like 40 minutes, and they will just be talking and talking and talking and talking, and then they'll end with, "Wow, you're such a great listener," and walk away. And I will have said absolutely nothing. Like absolutely nothing. And that is weirdly the magic / curse of an open throat, is you're such a good space holder, because your throat is so open for people to just take up that space. So people feel like they can take up your energy and your space with their voice. And sometimes it's going to feel great and you're going to be like, okay, sure, like I'll hold space for you. And also knowing when to set those boundaries of, I don't want to hold space for this right now, or I don't have energy for this right now, or cutting people off, you know, not letting other people cut you off when you have something to say. I think that's really important for an open throat, is learning those boundaries, because people will take up the open throat space because they're amplified, because they feel safe to do so. Also, depending on who you are, like if you're a projector or a manifestor or a generator, I feel like for me as a completely open throat and a generator, people feel really safe in my field. If you're a generator, people feel really drawn into your energy. You have a very open and nurturing aura. So people are going to want to come in and be in your field. So not only having that energy, if people want to be in my field, they want to talk to me, they want to be in my energy, but they also want to have space held for their throat, but it's honestly unconscious. They don't know that it's happening. They don't know that their throat's being amplified. It's just something that happens. So that has happened a lot in my life. And I think for open throats, we're so mystical, you know? I feel like things are more feely for us, and for myself, I'll speak for myself, but I think it's an open throat thing where I feel way more connected to like plants and animals and nature and the elements and things that don't have a voice themselves, and like really being in spaces where it's like silence without words, but being filled by like nature sounds, or listening to the waves, or being around animals that don't have their own language, you know, kind of being in those spaces where people don't speak and connecting to things that don't have a voice. I think that's a very big gift of open throats as well, is like this mystical ability to like feel really comfortable and at home in spaces that are more silent and more, I guess, have a different language, kind of a language of like feeling based or energy based. So the gifts of an open throat are definitely going to be, I think also divination, you know, like really channeling through messages from spirit, really opening to kind of more energetic messages, speaking on behalf of places, energies, animals, things that don't have a voice, maybe speaking on behalf of certain people that are like struggling in the world that don't have a voice. You can speak for them. It doesn't always have to be energetic. It can really be whatever it is that you're called to, that you're drawn into. That doesn't have that space in the world. They don't have a voice. You are really here to speak on behalf of that. And that's what's going to feel so consistent all the time. Like you're going to be able to call upon energies and really speak to them. And you're going to be able to speak on behalf of that a lot more consistently than you would be able to speak on behalf of your own stories or your own personality or your own experiences, unless that's something that lights you up. Like that may be consistent, but I think more defined throats are here to more so speak on more consistently on their own energy and their own stories and experiences, and open throats are more so things that don't have a voice and energies and kind of like a mystical thing. So if you have an open throat, I am with you. The last thing I want to say to kind of wrap up this little mini open throat podcast is really decondition from the idea that you have to be more outgoing or talk more or fit in more, quote unquote, and really find the people that understand your energy or let people know your energy. That has been one thing that has helped me immensely, is I tell people about human design. I read their charts. I tell them the first thing I talk about is if they have a defined throat or an open throat, because it's been such a big lesson and teacher of my life. So I honestly let people know now that I have an open throat and that I'm not as consistent with what I talk about and when I talk and how I talk. And yeah, I just let people know that I am more of a, I guess, space holder. And yes, it's really helped, I think. And when I do tell people that I'm open and I'm an open throat and what that means, I always get the, oh, like the classic, like, oh, that's why kind of energy. But it really helps because then people know that it's like, it's not because you're shy or you're uncomfortable or you're an introvert or whatever. It's just your energy and how you're made, and you're made for different things. You know, everybody here has different gifts. We all have different charts, and that's what's beautiful about it, is we're all little puzzle pieces here to speak on different things, to have different opinions, to have different energies for different things. That's why I am obsessed with human design, because it really does allow there to be so much uniqueness and so much space for people to be themselves. And if I had known about human design when I was like 14, my life probably would have been so much better, and I would have felt so much more confident in who I was, rather than trying to be a projector who's really articulate, or somebody with a defined throat who's really outgoing, or a 5 profile who's like the universal friend and can talk to anyone. I'm just not those things, but that's okay, because that's not what I'm here to do. That's what those people are here to do. And it's funny because I feel like I attract a lot of 5 lines into my life, the universal friend, because I'm a 6'2", which is like the role model who's here to teach people, but also the hermit. So I feel like I attract a lot of 5s into my life to kind of socialize and get me into community more. Anyways, thank you so much for listening, everybody. Anyone with an open throat, I love you. Decondition for sure from any beliefs from yourself or others around you. Know that your energy is so special and so important, and you have important gifts to share in this world. If you liked this human design podcast, please let me know on Instagram, Zoe_Mayenberg. And just let me know if you'd want more human design content. I put polls up on my stories, and yeah, human design has been just such a big teacher, and I'd love to share more about it. So thank you so much for being here, my loves, and we'll see you in the next one.